bienvenidos a Historias de Éxitos aquí en Casa Guanajuato TV. Le quiero dar las gracias al profesor Ruben Herrera que me dio la oportunidad de venir a entrevistar a su tocayo, Ruben Anuario. Vamos a hablar con él sobre el libro que escribió y que ahora es una película corta, un short film. Y vamos a estar hablando bilingües. Ojalá que puedan disfrutar de todo lo que vamos a hablar. Ruben, bienvenido al show. ¿Nos quieres decir un poquito de tu background, like, your history of where you're from and where you grew up and what inspired to write the book, D-Town?
Yes, muchas gracias. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Ruben, for having me here as well. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ruben Anuario. I'm originally from Brownsville, Texas. I came to Dallas when I was 16 years old. I grew up down here in Oak Cliff in the barrio. I'm raised from here. And inspired my book. I wrote my book about young kids trying to get out the gangs. When I was doing the story, I was thinking about my daughters that were growing up at that time. And then I saw a news clip where a young man had committed suicide. And that kind of gave me an idea of, what can I do to help our youth without, kind of like giving them, not trying to give them a lecture, just give them something cool and something, message to them that we can get out of the gangs and stuff. And that was a living example of that. So that's where the whole story here came upon. It's a semi-autobiography. Things did happen to me in the book, but there's other things that didn't, fictional. So it's a fictional semi-autobiography. It's called D-Town, A Hard Lesson of Life, which is, the title says it itself. And D-Town has two meanings. Back in the days, it's based in the 80s, 90s. Back in the days, all the Valle was known as drug towns because it was so easy to bring in all the drugs and stuff. So they're called drug towns. And then, Dallas is known for D-Town. And so I mix both of them and make D-Town. But the subtitle is what brings it more, a hard lesson of life. Everything that the young man went through to his life to come out of that situation. And that's what we're trying to bring out.
So with D-Town, the influence is from Drug Town and Dallas, and you kind of used both experiences of living there and here to kind of like inspire you to write this. So you would call it a with books, you would call it a semi-fictional, or because it's based on
biography fictional.
It's kind of based loosely on your experience and growing up in Dallas, Texas, in what we're talking mid 80s, late 80s,
late 80s, 89. Well, I got here in 88. I went to Addison High School, and it was in the 90s, early 90s and stuff. Back in those days, there was a lot of gangs. Everybody was, fighting each other.
Ruben, let me stop you. A lo mejor we were already against each other and we didn't even know.
We're like, you're from the west side, I'm from the east side.
Wait a minute. What part of Oak Cliff were you hanging out at? No.
Well,
I'm just messing with you,
We grew up in that area in Oak Cliff here. And our little gang was, like I said, we were the WWs. The weekend winos, but we were about 40 of us. There was a lot of us.
Wow, that's a lot of winos.
A lot of winos. So it was, but we didn't go, shooting people or nothing. We just mainly hanged out. But when somebody would mess with us, we'll retaliate.
You answered to the call. You answered to the call, right? Y'all stepped up. I think that a lot of that was happening in the 80s. Growing up here, coming from Chicago, there was a lot of gangs over there where we grew up. And then when we came here, my brother hung around with a breaking crew. It was a DTR, Down to Rock. And then other gangs thought they were a gang, and they weren't. They were just a group of people hanging out. They weren't really looking for trouble. But when you hang around in a group like that, you're not looking for trouble, but trouble seems to find you. And sometimes you have to
defend yourself.
You have to defend yourself. And then I'm so glad that now in Dallas we're in a different place. There might be some gangs out there, but you don't really hear about it.
Not like back in the days. Nowadays, either they keep it real down low, or it just doesn't. There's not that many. I've not followed any gangs since back in the days and stuff, but like I said, it's mainly showing the message that if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. I lived that life, and my inspiration, my motivation to get out of it was my family, my daughters. That's what made me think that, hey, okay, what am I want to do? Want to keep on being a borracho all the time, or be a man. You gotta, there's a point in your life that some people get it, some people don't, where you get to where you're going to do with your life. Are you just going to be a low life, don't do nothing? One of my best things that I like to say is, and I got it from Blood In, Blood Out, when they heard, was it in Cruz? They were in the hospital, and then they were going to go retaliate on the other gang. The mom came out and said, what are y'all doing? Y'all fighting each other. And the guy said, this stuck with me forever. He says, if we do nothing, then we are nothing. And I'm like, wait a minute, I pause it and rewind it and so. So it comes to, I put it into my sense where if you personally don't do nothing with your life or nothing, you're not gonna be nothing. Mm-hmm. If you don't go out to teach yourself or to learn a new trade or do better your life, you're just not gonna become anything. And that's what one of my things that I want to show our youth is that you can do things yourself if you put your mind to it and your heart into it. And now with time, I've learned that you got to set yourself goals and stuff. You got dreams. I read what's his name, Denzel Washington. Mm-hmm. You ever seen his speeches?
Yeah, I've seen some of them, and I don't have any that I could recall now. But when I see them, he hits things that really give you aha moments. That you're like, oh,
I see him. I don't even listen to radio no more. I'll listen to podcasts and stuff, just trying to get in touch with everything. But one thing he said in one of his speeches is very clear that got to me too. Is like, dreams are without goals are just dreams. So you can dream all you want, but if you don't do anything about it, you just stagnant. You just right there. No haces nada. No sales haces nada. So you got to put yourself out there, and if something you do with your heart comes out better, I think, and stuff. So when I wrote it and self-published it and everything, I thought I had something real good, and people liked it and stuff. So it's a good story. It takes you back to those days and stuff, and it gives a positive message too. And it's not only for Chicanos. It's not, it's every ethnicity. Everybody, African Americans, Americanos. They got kids growing up and stuff.
Everybody goes through that adolescent time.
It doesn't matter who you are. Young man at the age of 17, anything from 13, 17, 18, that's where your mind, when you really make up, what are you going to do? Either, you're going to stay in the gang, or you're going to go to jail and stuff. And I know people regret a lot not doing stuff that or doing stuff that you didn't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that hurts you because you already did it. But you have second chance. You're always gonna have that second chance. You have choices. Your life is based on choices.
And you're right about other razas being able to relate to it. I think one good example of that is when the girl that wrote Outsiders, and then they made it into a movie. And I remember watching it and thinking, oh my God, it was nothing but bolillos on the movie Outsiders, and that I could relate to Pony Boy, and we had a Pony Boy or guy we call horse or whatever, it's like, you can relate to all the nicknames they had out there and their situations of struggling and being in the, and so this is what is exciting when you talk about that you gotta spring into action, basically is what you're saying, that if you, what was that quote from the movie where he says, if you do nothing
then you are nothing.
Exactly. And when you came, how long ago was it that you put out the book?
In 2014, that's when I first published it, got it self-published through Author House. And I had a little, run there, selling books here and there and stuff, but But you know, a lot of people don't do much nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, they'll rather listen to a podcast or listen to a ebook and stuff. But I just wanted to say, I wanted to get something out there that could to the kids, to relate to the kids and stuff, and have something that I've done with my life. You know, something that I just didn't want to keep it with me. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to get it out there and get it to the kids and stuff. One of my biggest goals is to go like to juvenile correctional facilities that are in there, that I know there's a lot of people that regret what they did. So what are you gonna do when you get out? You know, you're gonna keep on doing that, or you're gonna, you know, better yourself. You know, go to school, get your GED or whatever, get a good job. Your family will love you for it. You know, you feel proud. One thing that I feel is that my family is proud of what I've done, or that what I'm doing, and my daughters. That's the best sensation you can get, is that your family feels proud of you.
Yeah.
You know, I feel that very strongly and stuff. And that people respect you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
I gotta say, I have a lot of respect, because I have a lot of books that are hidden in the closet, and you know, we joke around. Hey, why are they in the closet? They need to come out. You know, like. You know? So I've talked to producers and stuff before, and the first thing I always tell them, and I may be canceled or something, but they tell me, I tell them my scripts are gay. And they're like, why? I go, they're in the closet hiding there. And they're like, well, you know what, Lucy, we're in the new time. They can come out. But there's that fear of taking them out, you know, getting it out there and taking that risk. And that's why when you came to Casa Guanajuato and promoted your book here, I couldn't remember what year, and I guess it was around 2014, 15.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time thinking, wow, you know, he's not just, you know, putting those fingers to work on getting it tied. You're doing the walk. You're out there. You're doing exactly what a lot of people have to do nowadays in the market, being Latino, Latinx, you know. Sometimes they say us Chicanos, you know, don't have a market out there for books and all that.
Yeah, it's very hard for us.
The market is there, but for some reason, networks are not picking up on that market, because they were like, oh, well, they'll throw a movie like, for example, Outsiders. We could relate to it, but we don't demand that it be characters that we can literally identify with, not only relate to, but identify. You know, the looks, the names, and you know, you taking that chance. And now it's 2014, you put the book out, and then you move it on to a script, and here we are in 2025. Probably you were working on it in 2024. I don't know how many years from there it took you from the book writing to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take a chance and put it into a short film. What is that gap there?
Yeah, when I did the book at 2014, and then we did a little, you know, in 2015. And then I won't say a tour, but you know, here and there, promoting it, marketing it, and you know, then it just stagnant, like I say, just stood there. Then I thought about it. I said, well, you know, we gotta do something and stuff. I have this product. When you have a product, you want to get it out there. Obviously, you know, you're trying to sell it. So we told my wife, I had gotten laid off from my job, but I got a good pension. I was like, I want to make a video. I want to make a picture trailer. That was our goal, try to get it out there as a pitch trailer in YouTube and try to get a lot of likes and stuff, so they can, somebody can see it, has the potential and stuff, and pick it up and stuff. But we did it. It was right after COVID. It was 2021 when we. It was very hard for me because I was doing everything, trying to get people together at one part. You know, to film is very hard. It's because people got different family. They got different things to do with their families and stuff. Schedules and stuff. So we had to rent the places. I had to pay the actors. I had to come up with, my wife helped me doing the catering thing, like little lunches.
Yeah, because they definitely got to eat if they're out there.
Tuna, cortados así, los tuna sandwiches. No, hombre, cuando you working, te caen con ganas.
Yeah. So you did your own filming, or did you hire a production crew to film?
Well, I have a good friend of mine. His name is Hector Torres. He's a Puerto Rican. He does a lot of quinceañeras and weddings. He's real good, and he's been a long time friend. And I told him about what do you think if you wanna let's make this a pitch trailer, and he goes, yeah, I've been wanting to cross into that area, then not just because his videos from his editing is real nice. He's got all these special effects, wedding videos, quinceañera videos. He does a real good job. So he's like, well, let's go try it. And so he said, well, how much would you charge me and stuff? And I'm like, you know what, just buy me a lens. I need a lens to record real good and stuff on my camera. And that lens was about $1,200.
The equipment is not cheap.
It's not cheap, but he said, I'll do all the editing. I'll do everything. You give me that lens. And I was like, okay, well, deal. So Hector Torres did all the film and stuff. The audio is kind of hard, kind of bad because we're out in the streets. Like there was a scene in West Dallas. You can hear airplanes fly over and stuff. And when we did it, we didn't have all the programs to block back noise out or nothing. So you can hear a plane there and everywhere. So if y'all, hopefully y'all go to the event and y'all see it on the big screen, you're gonna
understand
hear
that
it's
low budget.
Yeah. But all in all, it happened in 2021. It took me about a year to get all the. We only did like 5 or 6 scenes. But like I said, trying to get everybody together, weather and everything, because like our first scene was my brother-in-law's got a shop in West Dallas on Singleton and Loop 12, and it was like July. It was like in the middle of July.
Oh my goodness!
It was 100 and something, and we started like at 2. So toda tarde, trying to get them the actors to learn their scripts, and then me trying to direct. Hector helped me directing. Although it's a lot. It's a lot. People think it's not that much, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it does seem like a lot of work. Producing, getting everybody coordinated to be there on time and everything. When is the premiere of the short film? And also, before you tell us that information, I'm wondering, the short film goes from beginning to end on the book, or you leave us wanting a second short film or third? I don't know if you could give that away or not, but I was just curious because how short is the short film first? I guess let's go there. Is it like...
It's a condensation of the whole thing. Well, basically of probably the first half of it. It'll keep you guessing that what is he going to do? Is he going to find his father's killer? Is he going to get out the gang? Is his best buddy Froggy? That's his best buddy who betrays him later on. All that it's another side. We're just giving you like a teaser, stuff like that. But you can understand what's going on and what's happening, and then we leave it as the story continues and stuff. But it's only 18 minutes.
Okay.
It's only 18 minutes long. We cut off some parts from the pitch trailer because we didn't want to leave the pitch trailer, so it's just the movie, the short film. But since we got uncopyrighted music, we do have on the bottom, we don't own rights to the music. That's the only way that YouTube... Yeah,
there's a lot of details that you got to go into with copyrights, with music.
And when I rented out Texas Theater, I asked them that, so do I got to take out that music, because you don't want to play it in your theater? He goes, no, it says you're renting the theater as a private event, even though you are doing it publicly.
Yeah.
But you're not making money off the music, right now. You're not making. It's not like you're selling it to a script. Or something.
And you're not selling the soundtrack of your movie where you're making money.
So you should be okay. You're not. You're only making money because we are charging $10 to come in. But that's just to make some of the money back because it was up there, and I was the only one paying. So.
Will you be having books available there?
Yes.
And how about t-shirts and stuff like that?
We have a little bit of merch. We have lanyards. Had some lanyards made. I ordered some more books. I got some books out there. We did some little mini posters and stuff. Those we're gonna give out. Pero como saben, yes, we have t-shirts made. We'll have lanyards and books and stuff to sell.
And this is going to be one of the films in how many others? Like there's going to be a couple of other shorts at this time with same filmmakers or different filmmakers that you invited out to participate on this day?
We have a young man from Austin, Rick Cerda. I was introduced to him by another friend of mine, and he has shorts. He's 2 shorts. He's gonna show 2 of his films, and they're like 10 minutes each. So short films, they kind of give you a breakdown of what's going on in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
They don't make it into a full production, but it gives you the same meaning or what kind of they want to show to you. And then we have Mr. Gabriel Duran, that he made a couple movies. And then we're also doing I forgot to tell you this, homenaje for este muchacho que falleció, Armando Suarez. You ever heard of Armando Suarez? He made a couple of movies and stuff. So we're showcasing one of his movies, and then one of Gabriel's movies, which he was also, Armando was also an actor, is in his movie. So 2 of his movies, and then we're gonna have a small, how do you say, homenaje? Small, to show what his life,
his life,
his life and stuff. And then it's only gonna be 2 to 6, 4 hours. But we're gonna have that block first, and then we're gonna have like a break, and then we're gonna show the tribute to Armando, and then finally D-Town's gonna be in the big screen. Be the main. I'll probably just say a couple things, and then we just break off and do red carpet. We're gonna do a little bit of Q&A, but like I said, since our time is so condensed, because it's from 2 to 4. But by the time people get from 2 to 3, 3 o'clock, that's when we got to go. And ya va a empezar las movies. And then that time right there, from 3 to 5, is going to go like that.
Yeah.
And then from 5 to 6, because we got to be out of there by 6, he said, or else they'll charge you more. So it's the Q&As, I think it's going to be very short.
Kind of something quick.
Because we want to be taking pictures.
Over at the red carpet event in the lobby,
In the lobby, exactly.
Are they going to allow y'all to hang out even after? Because I think they rent out the theater, and then in the lobby, because they have the bar area, I guess that's where people could, take their time to come out and get to know you and
Network,
and the actors and all that, or are y'all going to be like, okay, guys, y'all got to get out of here now?
That's still to be determined. To be determined. If not, we can go out to the parking lot, out to the side street, because you know how they do the road. They do the cruise on Sundays.
Yeah, it will be on a Sunday.
We're gonna be on a Sunday. So there's gonna be a lot of lowriders out there.
What are the hours for the film?
The show is 2 to 6.
2 to 6. That'd be a perfect time.
Once we finish, van a comenzar dando cruise and stuff.
Yeah.
So I got primos in high class. I got a nephew with Jokers only. Car clubs, so they're going to be out there rolling around, and then the guys who were cars in the movie, Jomitos Car Club, they're going to be posted in the front. They're going the cars that came out in the movie, they're going to be in the front.
Whose car from Jomitos came out?
Roy Becerra's Purple Passion. Yeah, that's my boy Roy. He's always my daughter did a senior photo shoot with his car.
Oh, okay.
It's a real nice car and stuff. So he's my go-to guy for Jomitos and stuff.
Good guy. Never done any work on his car or anything, Roy.
Roy.
No, good for his brother-in-law. I'd done a car for
the poster.
They're cool cats. They're cool guys. It's good community, and it's good that you're getting all of their support. To come out and enseñar que podemos unirlos in projects like this. One thing, that I would get a lot of, being that I do some writing and I get some things out there, or I sometimes get a group of people and it's like, okay, shoot ideas. One of the things that a lot of people fight against is stereotyping, and you're probably going to get this question asked or have gotten it asked. How do you address that when people are like, oh, you're stereotyping, not all of us are in gangs and all this, but, they do say write what you are familiar with to be a success.
Right.
Be because then you know what you're writing about. And not only that, reality is if you grew up in el barrio and around your raza, eventually you or someone was going to be involved in gangs, and that's the reality. It's not like you're not.
Just because you weren't in it, doesn't mean that you don't know about it.
Yeah, exactly. Or that you lived around it, that you were involved in it, but sometimes, somehow, some way it does influence you because you're in the barrio, you know? So what would you say to people that might come at you like, oh, lo estás pintando como a bunch of hoodlums or this and that? How do you address that? You know, because that's one of my biggest worries if I write about how ghetto I grew up. They're going to be like, you know, you're making us look bad, but it's not us. You got to be true to yourself. So how do you answer that if somebody tells you, hey, you know, why are you doing this? You know, you're going to make everybody think we're all gangbangers, you know?
No. Yeah, I've felt that, and I know that, and I know it's very hard, especially right now, the stereotyping. You know, they're brown and they think you're an immigrant or illegal or something. It's, you know, that's happening a lot. But the way that I wrote the book and have the character is mainly the progression of the character. Yes, we have that stereotype that we're gangsters, we're bad people, whatever. But he grew up and got out of that situation. So he's a what kind of project of his own mind, which we all have. You know, we are all owners of our own mind and body. So it just doesn't only reflect to Latinos, because everybody grows up. Every ethnicity has, you know, young kids that are in trouble, that are in youth trouble, and that stereotype is not. I don't see it because everybody has that progression.
That is a very good answer because it's true.
It's positive. So we're doing positive things about it.
Every raza that exists has that time in an adolescent's life. They're at a crossroads where they're being pulled to street life, and they know from right from wrong, as we were talking earlier, that no matter what, whether your father or your good influences are in place, there's still times where, regardless, you and yourself know that you're wrong in certain things, and you have that conscience that is like, hey, you know, I shouldn't be doing this, but you're torn, and that's not something that just happens to Latinos. It happens across the board. We spoke about how Outsiders is one of them. That, you know, one movie we grew up seeing, and we could identify with Pony Boy. We could identify with everything that they were going through, regardless. They were white guys, and we were seeing all that growing up as Latinos. So I think you're right. It's not something. A story like this del barrio. It's not. We call it del barrio. Then it's Mexicanos or Latinos. You know. And but you have that in the black neighborhoods. You have that in the
Asians,
white neighborhoods.
Asians in Brazil, every country's got people growing up and stuff. So it's not only the Chicano. Yes, it's Chicano based because obviously I'm Chicano. I'm not gonna write about black African Americans or Caucasians because I'm not that. Like you said, you're writing about what you've seen, what you lived. And I lived a pretty good life. I think I want to be an inspiration, or at least a minute, that admire or respect me, to see that somebody came out of this and became a good person, and became good in their life, and not only for them, it's also for their families, for the community. If we can reach out to some of these troubled kids that are about to come out, juvenile or something. I think you'll give them a good perspective of life, or what's coming up, because I'm sure they regret being in there in the first place. But we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes in life. It's how you're gonna fix those mistakes is what's gonna make what you make of yourself and stuff. So that's the message I want to get out to the kids.
Well, that is a good message to put out there. Also, another message that you may not totally see that you're putting out there is you're taking the step to not only go from a book writer to a filmmaker. And we need more examples like that, because there's a group of kids that do not see that unless they see it in Hollywood, and we rarely see it for us Chicanos.
That's hard,
That's why we're still holding on to blood in and blood out. We're still holding on to mi familia.
30 years later, nothing has come out.
When is la nueva película going to come out? That we could relate to, that we could say, hey, it's one of our. I have a what I call my collection, and it's very few. You could count them in your hands, Boulevard Nights, Mi Familia, Selena, and you're taking the step and doing something. Who knows what this might be a step to one day creating another blockbuster for us Latinos. They might not. In the industry, they might not call it's the blood in and blood out blockbuster.
But for us,
to us, it's like we went
30 years later, you can all these quotes from the movie, everything is stay there.
They stay there. Everybody can relate to them.
So this, if it ever becomes a film, I think it could reach a lot of audiences, not only Latinos, but just and we have older people like us that reminisce about that time. We always love to go back on time and say I remember this when we were back in the days and stuff. So it takes you back to that era, to those days and stuff. And with the music had a lot to do with it. I listened to NWA back in the days, Too Short. Even though they're gangster rap songs, they talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. They still talk about coming out. Yeah. Too Short. He's got other raps, but he also got raps about getting out the ghetto, like giving a message in their music and stuff. Yeah. And that's what I see, and that's what I implement some of that into my book, the music. And in the short story, you'll see I got some Carlos Santana in there, just a mix of what even in the book there, I got Cadetes de Linares, cruzando el puente when they go to Mexico and buy drugs. It's just, you relate all that together, and I think it's something cool at the same time with a message saying that if Chito, the main character, can get out of it, with the love of Tere, the girl that's on there. And another thing I want to tell you is the peer pressure. That happens a lot in high school and school and stuff. And that's what gets you in trouble sometimes. You're doing right from wrong. Like you say, even animals know when they're doing right from wrong. I got a husky that sometimes don't want to go poop outside. He poops inside the house and he's in this kennel just looking with like that.
Like he knows que hizo algo mal.
Exacto. Then I'm like, okay, where's the poop?
Yeah.
So so even animals know when they do right from wrong. So what does not humans know? Pero los otros somos tercos sometimes, or cabezones, and don't want to do that. But if you want to live a better life, you got to change your attitude. There's in the short story, there's a nice segment or a nice scene with the school principal and Chito, and he's telling him, kind of mentoring him that I know you want to do well, but you have this chain holding you back. You just got to break off that chain, and that's what I'm trying to get out and stuff.
So is it safe to say you're Chito then? To a certain extent, you base that character. What other characters that are still in your life are in this book and short film that are in the book and are still part of your life?
Yeah, it was just like Tere, my wife. She's the one who was holding me back. Holding me from being into that situation. So my wife is a lot of inspiration. Like I said, my kids, my daughters, they're a big inspiration on building this project and this product. And I have, I don't have Froggy. I used to have a friend that was just like Froggy, like mean mugging, like you couldn't see him because he wanted to beat you up. So he was just like that, and we were like opposite. I was like nice, but he was bad. And then, sometimes you hang out with those kind of people without even knowing it, because they invite you, hey, come on, Orle. So it's, you tell me tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah,
El dicho.
type of thing.
El
Yeah.
dicho, dime con quién te juntas y te diré quién eres.
Yeah. Yeah.
So si te juntas con malandros, vas a ser malandro.
Yeah.
Pero people still know the right from wrong, and that's what I'm trying to say.
And are able to walk away from things with a good support group or good influences. I met your Teresa, Norma. I don't know if you wanted to put that out there or know her real name, but you know, she is a entrepreneur wife, and you guys work like a power couple. You know that I follow y'all on Facebook. You know, I've known you a long time, but you know, I've always known that she's been very business minded. I think I don't know if she still has a dress shop. When I first met you, she had a dress shop and did different things, and I know that now she's still doing things. And to know that that's the character, one of the characters in your book that helps you transition and make those decisions, influence you, and that she's still part of your life, and y'all are still working together and pushed you. I believe in that behind every good man there's a wonderful woman.
It
you
is.
know,
It's true. Because
so shout outs to Norma. You know?
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit of where she came in on not only in your life. We're going to find that out in the book and the film, but also in your journey to do the book and to do the film. It's like she's still a very big part of that influence.
She is very smart. Yeah, she's a very. She told me, since, like I said, we're working a lot in our business. She said, like, what's up with D-Town? What are you doing with D-Town? And I'm like, well, it's just there, you know. And like, no, you gotta get it out there. So she really is the backbone of the family, you know. Yes, I always got, you know, we don't sit down. We don't hardly watch TV no more. I turned off my cable. You know, I'll sit down and watch a game or something. I can't even watch the Cowboys nowadays, you know. But, you know what I'm saying? So she's always going. She's always thinking ahead, thinking, you know, what else can we do? And that she's been my motivation through this journey. And actually, when I started writing this, I didn't even tell her about it. And then one day I said she had gone to Mexico to visit her mom, and that's when I was almost finishing it. And then she comes, and I had the laptop, and then she goes, "What are you doing?" Because I did most of it at work. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I ain't told you about this." "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" And like, I'm writing a story. She's like, "What story?" She goes, "What are you writing?" And like, just something, you know, for the youth and about me and stuff. She's like, "Let me read it." And it was in English, and her English is a little bit off. And she goes, "Well," I kind of like went by, and she's like, "This is real good," and stuff. And then showed my girls, but I said they were younger at that time. Now they're 26 and 23. But, you know, 9-11 years ago, they were right in that age. And I'm like, well, you know, I kind of did it for y'all, and, you know, and everything. And she was like, oh, there was very, very sweet stuff. But yeah, she's still in my life. She's still very, very, we're very outgoing, you know, doing stuff. Because, like I say, if you don't get yourself out there, nobody else will. And stuff. So
y Mexicana de Mexico, right?
Matamoros.
Okay. So you see, there's good immigrants, you know, we're not all bad immigrants, you know.
She's really into that, man. We went to Arlington about 2-3 weeks ago at City Hall. They had a little protest, and they're like, andamos.
Yeah, it's like, you know, there's, for every small bad example there is of, you know, immigrants, there's hundreds of good ones, you know, and I could definitely, from following you and following your wife, say your wife is one of the good immigrants. Definitely, you know, and especially she pushed you to do something that's Chicano based, because that's another thing too, que a veces ves mucho que Mexicanos no se llevan bien con Chicanos, and this is a unity of a Chicano. Y'all really built that bridge, and that's what Casa Guanajuato is about. Honestly, Casa Guanajuato does a lot of things con Mexico, but we want to bridge that gap between first, second, third generations. That's why there's a lot of different things that they do here, you know, like the classes with the professor and just immigration and, you know, from the boxing, everything, you know, because we do want that gap to be less and Bridget, and y'all are a living example of that, you know, to wife de Matamoros, to the was it Brownsville? Yeah. And then growing up here in Oak Cliff, and you know, so how does your children feel? I know that you say, oh, I do this for them and everything. I could only imagine that they're like, oh, Dad, you did that, or is that, you know, like, have you ever got some kind of like anything like, hey, well, Dad, you did this, or, you know, like where it comes back and haunts you, you know, like, hey, you know.
No, they're very supportive girls and stuff. My oldest daughter is a paralegal for a law firm here, injury law firm here in Arlington.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she's got a real good head. And my youngest works as an optometrist. She's a technician. And like I said, even in the short film, you will see that my oldest daughter plays Teddy.
Oh, really? Oh,
because
wow.
the girl that was gonna play Teddy bailed out on us. Right when we're gonna do a filming, when we're gonna film at this restaurant called Feelers Wheelers. It's on it's going towards 35. I forgot what street is it, but it's a big barbecue place, and they have a big patio in the back. And at that time, they have a Ferris wheel. They have not that big, but they were having a midway pop-up thing, because the fair was, like I say, it was right after COVID.
Near Riverfront? Is it off Riverfront?
I think it want to be. Well,
it used to be industrial.
Not White Cliff. It's not White Cliff, is it?
Maple, maybe.
Market Center.
Yes. By the Anatole. Yeah, I think I've seen that Ferris wheel there.
Yeah, ándale.
Yeah.
So they had, when I did, they had a pop-up midway fair park, because we didn't have the fair because of the COVID that year.
Oh yeah, they were going around in the neighborhoods with all the fried foods and everything.
Doing everything. Yeah. So I have a carnival scene in there, and then my daughter, like I said, the girl wasn't showing up. I had to okay, everybody go home. We'll do it some other day. And my daughter goes, no, I'll do it. And I'm like, huh? So yeah, I'll do it. And really? So, and they were just short lines and stuff. So she learned them on the spot.
Wow.
And we filmed it and stuff. So she's there.
You just might have a natural there. I mean, she's a paralegal. That's a good field. But hey, you never know. That's how Rocky got his start, writing his own film and starring in his own movies, you know?
So she did that, and then there's another scene also where she's at. But she did great. In the second scene, she learned her script and stuff, and okay, we got our Teddy, you know?
Yeah.
You know, the other girl, oh well, you know?
Other actors in the film, are they all first-time actors, or some of them have some experience?
Yeah, my good friend Zapato, he was with the Queen of the South. He was he did other stuff. Oscar did with the Queen, and does other stuff. He did Chosen, the religious one. So he's done here and there and stuff. So he's El Jefe. He's the bad guy and stuff. He's in the short film. You'll see. We recorded at that fabrication yard. Right off Sylvian and
where all the graffiti's at.
And Singleton. We did that scene, that Jefe scene. My brother-in-law let me borrow his Hummer, and we go in there, and then we had guns, actual guns with so it was pretty cool. Like I said, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun doing the scenes and stuff, and everybody was in the same page. Like everything, when you have the collaboration together and they're focused on the same thing, it comes out much more easier than when you have conflict or stuff. And so I was lucky enough to get the right people for the job, and that they would be there for numerous time, because shooting a scene takes a while. It's not that easy, and you got to do at least 4 or 5 cuts, And
you're learning all this as you go. So
Hector also did, my film guy. He also was learning everything as he went.
Let's talk about future. Do you see yourself, because now you're from, I know you're not from Oak Cliff, but grew up in Oak Cliff. Do you see yourself in the future doing more film? Like, is this something that now that you've gotten your feet wet, is it something that you think you're gonna take on to full production, where I'm gonna be able to hey, Ruben, check out my scripts. Come on, Ruben.
I would love to. I would love to be like Robert Rodriguez. We were talking about him earlier. That guy is great when he did Desperado, and when he did El Mariachi. I think he did his first film for less than $3,000 or
I
$9,000.
believe I read on it, and I think it was like a 5,000 or 10,000. I can't remember. I gotta look into that again. But it was very low budget. They didn't think he would be able to pull it off, and he pulled it off. You know, he's a Mexican.
Yeah, I think he's got a book. He's got a Rebel Without a Camera or something like that. And where he made his, I think it was El Mariachi that later became Desperado. And he had a budget, I think, like $9,000. And I'm like, wow, like that's pretty awesome when you have that kind of talent and stuff. And now he's got his own network and everything.
Yeah.
But there's other projects that I want to do, but like I said, I'm not really a professional writer. I know how to get it together, put it all together, but now it's kind of hard with time, you know, everything and busy here and there and stuff. It's hard to sit down and actually focus on doing that. Yeah. But I do have a story. It's kind of hard, kind of touchy with Mexico with los carteles. I had a nephew of mine that was kidnapped or was taken, and he lived through that trauma. He's 18 right now. He was 14 when they picked him up. Him and his dad. He was my compadre in Matamoros. They picked him up and they let my nephew go, pero my compadre, they had him for 13 days out in El Monte y se murió out of dehydration, or no le daban de comer. They didn't really want to kill him, but since he didn't give up the money, es que social media is so hard, especially down there in Mexico. You don't know who's watching you. If you put money and a gun on social media, you're gonna get attention, and he got attention from the wrong crowd. They say that they were probably his own friends that did it. So that trauma that my nephew has gone through, I bet is I haven't really sit down with him and kind of gotten all the details, because to bring that back, to really relive that situation, I'm sure it's very hard for a young kid, because he has scars in his back where they would hit him with a machete with the other side of the machete.
And I think that's a good concept where you're coming from, because a lot of people hear stories like this, but they don't touch on the survivor. The fire, yes. You know, and what traumatic syndrome they're going through too. You know, because soldiers and people have gone through abuse, go through all this stuff. Trauma. You know, trauma. And I don't think anybody. That's a topic that I don't think nobody. I have not seen a film like that, and that's what you want to do when you get into filmmaking and storytelling. You want to tell a story from a different perspective. And that is a totally different perspective, because you're not going to touch too much on the. I'm not sure, but from what I'm hearing, I don't want to direct your story, but it sounds like you're more focused on the thing he went through versus that, what caused it and everything. That's a story behind there, but where are they, what they went through, and where does that leave them? That I think would make an awesome story. Yeah. So you got some good ideas out there. I do hope that this gives you enough experience to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take a shot at this next project and not wait all them years. There was a big gap. There was a big gap from the book to that. But I think it's awesome that you're doing it. Because it's like I tell you, a lot of my movie scripts are in the closet, and they've been in there more than 20, 30 years. And
that's regret. Regret is a big thing that you're gonna regret yourself. You might grow old and then like, what if I would have done this?
Exactly.
It'd be too late by the time of that. Time is precious nowadays. Nowadays, people don't realize that your life is ticking, and if you don't do things that you want to do, you're just gonna sit there and just wonder what would have happened. What would have? At least I'm trying. And it's a good message, and I think people can respect that. and who knows where it leads it to. And if it doesn't lead me, you know, at least I tried, and at least I put a product out there that for years people could say, "Oh, Ruben, I know Ruben. We wrote that book.
Did that. Yeah, he did that film. He did that film.
Get it out there." And I got a coworker of mine who's like, "I don't know how you guys do it. One day you're in Mexico, next day you're selling pottery, next day you're doing interviews. Where do you get all this energy?" You know, like just all the grace of God. Todo lo pongo a Dios. Back to Denzel, he's got one thing that I stick to a lot. He says, always put God first in everything you do. Everything you do, talk to God, ask for God, and He'll guide you. You know, if you do it straight from the heart. If you really do it, you know, de todo corazón, que quieres hacer algo, you know, talk to Him, and He'll listen to it. And He has listened to me, and that's what we're going into this project now. That you know, I think hopefully it's not the final stage of D-Town. Hopefully it's the beginning stage, like we were talking about, and see where it leads us to. So it's something nice, and I think it'll be out there for a while and stuff for the kids.
Well, definitely. Hopefully, once you do move it onto a full production from a short film, you never know, we might be quoting some line like we do, like the ones that I don't even know if I could say it on the show, where the most famous line, they're always like, "Are your eyes caquita brown?" or the lines of or give you some chon chon or whatever, you know. What line would you say, if any, is on there, or you think that's where down the road where you'll have some quotable lines?
They'll pick up. Well, you know what I'm saying? The story is just like Chicano stuff. I got Somos pocos pero locos, Ponte trucha vato. You know, our slang that was back in the days and stuff. So, you know, sometimes slogans, or sometimes they come up with unexpectedly. Yeah. You know, I'm sure when they did Blood In, Blood Out, you know, nobody was thinking about giving some chon chon or Vatos Locos Forever. So, and it was a white guy who actually directed the movie. Taylor Hackford. Yes. Molio. He directed blah, blah, blah. And he loved the community. He loved everything about Chicano and stuff. So our cultura is part of that, you know. And like you say, we get stereotyped, yes, but we also have people that come out of that stereotypical. That's what we're trying to change.
And the writer, the story of Blood In and Brown Out, Santiago Vaca is the actual writer that does poetry of all things. When he did Time, he put out a couple of books of his poetry from when he was doing Time. So nobody would even think that somebody that wrote poetry books is now, you know, his movies being based and everybody's quoting that, you know. So that's why I really think books are important. I really am proud to know somebody that took the time to get out there, write their story, and not only write it, but do the footwork to get it out there, and now doing a short film. It's an inspiration. I think you're a great example. Thank you. You might get this old goat off her butt to start doing some writing again, you know, but I think it's really awesome. And if you can tell us again, when is the film going to premiere, the time, and I guess just the information on that, where we could go and get tickets, you know, and definitely, hopefully you'll come back and visit Professor Herrera, you know, and talk about other things that you want to do, like to be, you know, lecturing maybe to youth and stuff like that. Maybe there's somehow we could work together to make that connection. We have a group here of kids that, you know, are from the neighborhood, and we never know what some of our kids that come to the center are going through too. And maybe a lecture with your book for them that they could see, you know, something. There's ways that here at Casa Guanajuato we could work together for the community. That's what we're about. And so before we leave the interview, if you could give us information on the book and the
it'll be Sunday, March 23rd, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'll have 4 short films prior to mine, to D-Town, which would be the main film. We're gonna have red carpet. We're gonna have a small Q&A afterwards. I'll have some books there. People want to purchase T-shirts. I can sign the books and stuff. And then afterwards, there's a lowrider cruise or a cruise going around Jefferson. So you can participate in that or just hang out, out there. But it'll be a nice event. It'll be a good event because, like I said, we're trying to bring a lot of people together and show the world what that D-Town has potential. And maybe somebody will see it and say, well, okay, we don't need a big budget for it. We can record, we can film here in Texas where you have grants or have credits if you film here. So it'll be a low budget, but with big potential.
Yes.
So that's what I think somebody can really find interest in. So it'll be Sunday the 23rd here. You can get tickets at Eventbrite. You go to eventbrite.com and Google or search there D-Town, and it'll bring out the tickets and stuff. Or there'll be tickets at the door as well, $10.
Oh, okay. So it's March 22nd at 23rd. Texas 23rd. March 23rd, Marzo 23 en la calle Jefferson en el Teatro de Texas Theater. And you said there'll be a couple of cars parked out there.
We have some lowriders that were in the film. They're going to be parked in the front. And it's going to be pretty nice. We're trying to get, like I said, Telemundo out there, trying to do a live coverage, or Mr. Ruben Tocayo quiere decir, do a live coverage or something. You're more than welcome, showing that, with Latinos and showing the world that Dallas, it's a good town and stuff. And we're going to show it to them.
Well, muchas gracias, Ruben, for coming here. Thank you so much. I am honored that you gave me this interview. I think you're trailblazing, and I really admire that you're doing the walk, you're doing, not just talking about it, not just writing about it, you're out there doing it. And, mucha suerte contigo en todo lo que haces tú y Norma, and come back and visit us whenever you want, and we'll see you at the red carpet.
Yes, we'll be there.
All right, well, thanks for coming.
Thank you much.